Hey, welcome to A Mind for Life, more exclusive, in-depth content. All right, today I'm going to talk about the broader perspective, or also what I call the big I, all right? The big I. Now, I want to talk to you about how this came about and what it is. The broader perspective is me, but it's not me. See, when I began to meditate, I began to shrink. My personality began to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Nathan, his thoughts, his feelings, his began to shrink and shrink. And as a result, it's almost like I became the space around. I became large. I became the room. I became the house. I became the block. So when I would hear sounds out there, when I would meditate, say outside, say I was laying in a room and it was dark and I was listening to a fan, and I talk about that in previous video, and I would hear a sound outside, say a car or whatever. It didn't jar me because it was all part of my universe. It was all part of me. See, that's what happened when my personality shrank and I began to get larger and larger. And during this time is when I began to become nothing and everything at all. And then I would notice that these, I'm going to call them perspectives, would come in and try to become me. So let me explain. My experience of a perspective. You experience perspective as a state of being. I'm going to talk more in depth about state of being in the next video. However, a thought, a feeling, and a body state would try to come in and fit in me and say the driver's seat, and say there was a click and it locked in, and now I became one with that. A thought, a feeling, and a body state. So say something happened yesterday and it was a good experience. I feel good. It was a good interaction. I felt good about that. I would begin to think about that. I begin to feel that. And then my body would begin to feel a certain way. Now, when I became large in everything and nothing at all, I became aware of this for the very first time. For the first time in my life, I became aware that I was being a perspective, that what I was being was a thought, feeling, and a body state, which was a perspective. So these things would come in and they would want to become me, but my awareness would be there and I would watch it come, realize it wasn't me, and watch it go. Another one would come. Say I would think about, I've got to do laundry. Man, I've got to do this and that and the other. Thought, feeling, and then a body state. I might get a little tense or whatever. I would watch that one to come in and I would just observe as the big I, and it would just go away. That was a huge breakthrough for me. That was huge, because up until then, I would just become any given perspective. I would just become that. I would become the thought, I would become the feeling, and my body would have a state and an action with it. That I would just be that. So aside, after the meditation, now check this out, after the meditation, right, I would go out, interact. I'm just going to say interact with people, right? And I would notice how I felt while I was talking to the person. I would notice what I was thinking and feeling and how my body was. That began to translate over into this realm, into this everyday concrete physical world. So it was almost like I had a huge eye that was observing me. And I was aware that I was observing me as the huge eye at the same time. See, that was a breakthrough. And how it helped me was this, because I realized, say I would be having a conversation and I would have certain feelings or thoughts. I realized that those weren't necessarily my feelings or thoughts. See, before I would just have the feelings. And I'd be like, oh man, I'm angry. Oh man, I'm happy. oh man, I'm this. But now I begin to realize that I don't have to be angry. I don't have to be happy. That is a perspective. That is my experience of a perspective. That was huge. That was a huge breakthrough for me. And that's what the broader perspective is about. It's being aware that you are aware. It is being outside of yourself, observing yourself and being yourself. That is the wonderful thing about this whole broader perspective. So I'm glad to be able to share that with you guys. Again, scoot over to Amazon and get the book, A Mind for Life. A Mind for Life is not the basis for the channel. It's an inspiration for the channel. And it's also just a great book in its own right. I wrote it on its own terms. Even before this whole video thing, I did the book. So it's designed to help you transform your life and live your truth by choosing how you think and feel. So with that, and this, by the way, it's available in print, audio, and digital too. So I made it available in different formats for you guys. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about state of being. Very important. You got to show up for that one. All right. A Mind for Life. Thanks for coming. Peace out.